Hey, it's Dyer, and this will be an overview of a budget Esper Artifact deck that I made.
Okay, so these are our primary win conditions. We've got Psi, we've got Disciple, and we've got Underhanded Designs. So first we have Psi. He's 1/4, really good, helps evade some of the damage removal with the 4 toughness, and every time you cast an artifact spell, he's going to create a 1/1 flyer. So basically try and get him out, cast a lot of our artifact spells, and then just flying for the win. He's got a neat secondary ability where you can sacrifice artifacts and draw a card, and sometimes that's relevant, not always. Disciple works really well with the whole rest of the deck because we're playing artifacts, we're sacking them, and then like anytime we're blocking with our Thopters or anything else and they're dying, then our opponents are losing life. And so we can kind of use these guys to sit back and just win the game by just digging through our deck with our artifacts. Now, Underhanded Design I think is a really underrated card at just 2 mana here, and then whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, not cast, and that's important because we have a lot of artifact lands, and they will trigger this, whereas for Psi, the lands won't trigger it because artifact lands, you don't actually cast them, but this one doesn't care about that. So every time an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay 1, your opponent loses a life, and you gain a life. So it's not just killing them, you're also gaining life, and then it has this added nifty ability where if you have too many of these or you're in a tight spot, you can generally sacrifice this to destroy any creature. You have to have 2 artifacts, but given that our whole deck is artifacts, it's pretty easy. So these are our win conditions, and it's pretty sweet. So this is our primary utility package. It's not too big, but it's actually really effective. So we have these Leonin Squires. They're 2/2 for 2. Sometimes that's relevant. You can swing in if your opponent doesn't have much, but the primary reason we have them is because they're going to return an artifact with mana cost 1 or less, and every artifact in our deck is 1 or less. So it can return anything and everything, and there's a lot of neat tricks you can do, but it's really just great card advantage. Over here, we've got the Trinket Mage, and it's a tutor, just lets us find anything we need. We're only running 2 of them because there was just not enough room, and we want as many as we can, but not too many. Whereas the Auriok Salvagers are the key engine of the whole deck once you get it out. So 2/4, a little expensive at 4 for the deck, but the key is here. You can return an artifact with confirmed mana cost 1 or less from your graveyard to your hand, which basically means you can return any number of artifacts that we have to your hand. And since they gain its life, do damage, all sorts of things, that's basically how we run through the whole deck. All right, so this is the artifact package in the deck. There's a lot of different effects, a lot of neat tricks, and a lot of neat things. So let's go over each one. So these 3 cards, they're really overpowered. So I basically considered them your restricted cards, and you get 1. So Lotus Petal, other than just being 0 and giving you 1 mana of any color, which is great mana fixing, it combos really well with Auriok Salvagers, basically making it so you're only ever paying 1 mana to return it each time, and that lets you trigger like all your other effects. So like your Underhanded Designs, like this one, you can gain a life and have your opponent lose 1 every time. If you have any 1 or more of the Disciples out, they're just losing life for 1 mana each. You got 2 Disciples out, you got the Lotus Petal and the Auriok out, you're paying 1 mana, they're losing 2 life for each one, and it goes real fast. Same goes for Psi. You can just, as you're replaying your Lotus Petal, you're just making Thopters over and over again. So there's a lot of ways that this card is super broken in this deck and really useful. Soul Ring, just simple. Cost 1, makes 2. It's incredible. It's always been incredible, and it's incredible in this deck too. Skullclamp, also really insane. It's an equipment, cost 1, equips for 1, creature gets +1, -1, and whenever the equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards. It's just crazy. Like, you can attach it to these Leonin Squires after you've gotten your artifact back. They become a 3/1, and then whenever they die, you get 2 cards off of it. It's great. Or If you've made Thopter tokens, you can pay one to sack one and draw 2 cards and just dig real deep in your deck, and it's incredible. The card advantage is insane. All right, so moving on to sort of what I'd say is our removal package. We've got Executioner's Capsule and Aether Spellbomb. So the Spellbomb is sort of like dual purpose. We can bounce our opponent's creatures, we can bounce our creatures to save them or to get their effects again. So it's pretty versatile. And then, if it's not really doing anything, you can always just sack it to draw a card, and that's always worthwhile. Over here, our Executioner's Capsule can kill any non-black creature. So we can just recycle those and kill off our opponent's creatures. And then, like the Aether Spellbomb can hit anything in case they're playing black. We have our Sunbeam Spellbomb. It just here gain life. We have a couple cards to gain life, but not a ton. So like the Underhanded Designs, that'll gain life off that. But this one's a bit more in case we're in danger. This is also probably one of the cards you could cut or swap out for something else if you like it. It's not terribly important, but I always like having that extra bit of life gain, and it just makes it feel even more toolboxy. Speaking of, over here, the Dispeller's Capsule destroys any target artifact or enchantment, so that's basically anything else we're worried about, that's our guy. Now the rest of it is really just efficiency. So Chromatic Sphere sacrifices to filter mana. You sacrifice, you get a mana of any color, and then you draw a card. Same with the Barbed Sextant. It's just an older version of it that you draw the card at the beginning of your opponent's next upkeep. And so there's a better version of this, but it's also $6 each. So these are, again, the budget versions, but we have 6 of them, so we can mana fix and draw cards. And there's a Bauble over here, basically just says tap, sack, draw a card at the opponent's next upkeep, and it costs 0. So it's another thing we can drop real early, draw a bunch of cards, filter through the deck, and it works really well with all the rest of it, like our size and our Underhanded Designs, and especially Disciples, because we're just sacking these and digging through our deck and our opponents are losing life. That's really great. So yeah, all in all, the general idea of this is just draw a bunch of cards, filter through, play a bunch of these, as many as you can, and use the rest of the main win conditions and engines to put them to the best use. Okay, we are not kidding when we say this is an Esper Artifact deck. You're white, blue, black, and we've got the artifact land of each one of those colors, plus our Darksteel Citadel. So we have 16 artifacts here. Now you can't trigger them with Sai, unfortunately, because he says cast, and I said artifact lands don't get cast. But Underhanded Designs only cares when they come into play. So every time you play one of these 16 land, you can trigger this, or multiples if you have them out, and it just gets crazy. And then if for any reason you're sacrificing them, this will trigger and they'll lose life from that. So that's really great. One more very cool thing is that Trinket Mage will let you tutor for any of these artifact lands. So if you're missing a color, you can always play out a Trinket Mage and find whichever one you're missing. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. Your Arcane Sanctums. There's one of every color, so just helps smooth things out. And for the most part, if you're having trouble with the mana, you just lean on one of your mini filter effects over here with the Chromatic Spheres to help get you through that. And because you can bring these back and basically bring every artifact in your deck back, it works really well.
So that's the whole deck. It's very toolboxy, which is near and dear to my heart. And I hope you like it as much as I enjoyed making it.